Spent a lot of time going over this recent patch. I wanted to get a real thorough opinion on it. So I've done everything from I swapped classes just to test the new Poison Rage set out. I went to Wizard, fully farmed the 6-piece Poison set. I maxed out and crunched in all my other 1-star gems that I was saving into Pain Clasp in order to max out Pain Clasp to try the Pain Clasp gem out as well. I've done the new Elite quest. I've done the new main quest. I farmed the new dungeon a significant amount of times. I actually got the highest contribution points in PvE in the Accursed Tower on the entire server for the first cycle. I'm going to be participating in the PvP when it shows up. I've been spending a lot of time, more so than is normal for me. I'm actually significantly, not actually significantly, but, I'm better than I was. I'm 3 levels above Paragon, so not significant. I'm at 60%, okay? So for me, that's significantly above. You almost see me with a green bar because I'm being lazy in terms of experience. To show you what I'm talking about here. But the point I'm trying to make, and I farmed lots and lots of this new cursed gear. I mean, let me show you here. I've been collecting that stuff. Look at this. I've been farming cursed gear for days. I've actually put a pretty good amount of effort into trying to understand this patch. I've been talking to other people, getting people's opinions on how they feel about the patch. And I think I'm ready to kind of break down my fully encompassed review. Also talk about how I feel about the game after the update, kind of where it's at, etc. I also think this patch changed some of the metas in terms of what people are going to be spending their time doing in the game, etc. Or even if it's not meta, just I think some people will prefer, some of the new content over the other types of content. So with that all being said, let's break down and kind of go over how I'm feeling about this patch. All right, let's talk about the Poison set. I have mixed feelings about the Poison set. Initially, it's pretty good. 15% damage over continual damage is pretty good. And this ramps up to 25% critical hit chance, which is insane. And this is for every continual damage effect upon nearby enemies. But we'll talk about this here in a moment. And then applying continual damage effects to an enemy's lives during your Poison's Rage, which deals 34,000 per second for 3 seconds. If you actually do the math on that, that's pretty insane. That's my numbers, obviously going to be different from other people. I pair that with the new Pain Clasp. We have some damage, okay? We're talking some damage. Now, here's the thing. The only complaint I have about this set is with the 4-piece. I think people are going to run a 2 or a 6-piece, but not very many people are going to run the 4-piece just because the 4-piece feels weak without the 6-piece. First of all, you have to have continuous damage effects on somebody, so there it goes, it ramps up, and you see how quickly they die, and then it's gone. This right here is the corrosion damage from the 6-piece, which is actually pretty good. If I attack somebody here, you're going to see that damage is pretty gnarly, okay? And it's ticking multiple times, so it's going to do a significant amount of damage. But here is the thing. The critical hit chance in theory is quite good. In practice, it doesn't work very good because let's say when you're farming like this and you're going around and I'm just farming minions, going from here to here, you see how it falls off quickly because when the minion dies, you lose that critical hit bonus. So I'm only really getting the bonus for as many minions are going. I'm not building up and stacking the effect as if let's say it lasts for 5 seconds or something every time you stack it. I'm not stacking an effect up and then continuing to keep that critical hit chance. So the critical hit chance is only good often right after you already hit the minion. So in practice, it's not as good as in theory. And then also when you are fighting bosses, because you don't have so many minions that you're trying to have the continual damage on, you're not getting that ramping critical hit chance when maybe it would matter on something like a boss. So unfortunately, it's like a 6 out of 10, it feels like. If you're open world farming, you don't really need the extra critical hit. You're probably going to kill things anyway, but it is nice. And it's only a little bit annoying when you're going from pack to pack and let's say you're killing the pack too fast to be able to carry that critical hit chance, and as soon as the minion's dead, it's gone. You see what I'm saying? So if you can't really pair it with like beneficial effect or something like that in order to make it last longer. Now it is more of a nitpick, and I think really that this set is much more about the 6-piece bonus, which is quite good damage, feels good, and will work great with these continuous damage types of builds. I actually quite like the set. So for me, the Poison set anyway is a W, and I think a lot of people will like it. I also think there's a really good pairing of like a 4-piece Grace with a 2-piece. This could be pretty disgusting, and that's probably what I'm going to farm next to test, because I think I would rather have the guaranteed continual damage bonus from both of the effects. I think could be pretty nutty. Okay, let's talk about the new dungeon. Dreadreaver Dungeon is artistically one of the best things they've made in this game. I think whoever made the Elite Quest, and we're going to talk about the Elite Quest in a moment, whoever made the Elite Quest is like an actual genius in terms of environment design. And I'm saying, I'm memeing a little bit, but like it's actually really good. Like it's just really well done. I was mind blown the whole time I was playing the Elite Quest visually. I had the same impression with this dungeon, where I was thinking the whole time I'm playing this dungeon the first time, man, whoever made this just really like actually gave a shit when it come to creating the dungeon, because everything from like the wood looking wet to the reflections to the way the boat rocks. And the coolest animation is these two hooks. They hit the side of this thing and drag their ship in. The design of the characters, when you get inside and below deck, the design of the level where you're going below deck and then the ship is basically like crashing and rotating and everything. Like, it's honestly like it's some of the stuff I look in the game and I realize, you know, the art department absolutely carries a huge chunk of this game at times. And this is one of those times in which, okay, whoever it was, I don't know who it was that made this, but the guy that made this, visually, it is some of the most best work, I think, in the game. I'm actually just a huge fan. I really like the whole sea theme stuff, though. I was a sucker for Storm Point. It is what it is. Yes, there's a couple bugs. It can be a little buggy. Sometimes actually two bosses. In fact, the earlier recording I did take of this, it didn't work because Kitty actually kept meowing just like she's doing now. And it spawned two of these instead of one. There's some bugs related to this one. And I actually had somebody in my chat say that they have epilepsy and they're worried that this dungeon could potentially cause them seizures because of all the shaking. And I mean, I feel like that's probably a troll. But I feel like with that type of stuff, you also have to take it seriously literally every time. And so they probably should have like a camera shake disable type of option. They might have something literally for this already. I'm speaking out of pocket. I don't know. But it does feel like it maybe it could trigger some motion sickness for some people. It's the most extreme in terms of like shaking and stuff like that, I think, in the game, right next to the barbarian pants. We're going to have to deal with Kitty after this dungeon here. So that's, I do just really enjoy this one, though. I think that the other feedback people would have is that it's fairly long. So more than likely, the people, if you're trying to actually farm the gear, they might not like it if they're just trying to get the gear, and the only thing they care about is getting the gear, which is totally fair in a game like Diablo. However, I can't take any points away from this one because the design of this, the blueprints and schematics of the ship down to the lighting, I mean, the detail of like having the wood look extra wet on one side, like all of these things about the textures, etc. And you know, like the light, like all that, and the way the boss comes in later and like harpoons through and all that, and then the guy you save is the guy that dies. You know, I mean, like they just did a good job. I think, you know, I shout out to the guy that made this one. Honestly, I'm a fan of the work on this one. Now, this is a clip of the live stream of me going through the Elite Quest. It's not going to be full quality because I can't do the Elite Quest anymore in game, but at least I have it recorded. Visually, I thought the whole purple, blue, the whole quest line was pretty good. The voice acting was actually really good. There was some voice actors were backpacking more than others, I'll be real. But it was an enjoyable quest. I think the Elite quest line of having these like bonus extra larger quests are really good additions. We should have these, I feel like, more often, because this suddenly made me realize, oh yeah, like I'm playing a game. Like I actually forgot. Like I know it sounds like a joke, but like you're running in a circle so often, or you're just farming the same dungeon so often, you really feel the mobile game aspect of it is what it feels like. I almost feel like I'm playing Raid Shadow Legends, which I play for the other channel, and I'm like just repeating the multi-battle of a dungeon over and over again. Like sometimes you actually feel that way. And then you're like, oh, wait, but there's this badass quest line, you know, that you go through with good voice acting and like a new part of the world I've never seen before. And it actually feels like a game again. So, you know, this goes a long way for me. This was another W, and I'm going mostly the pros before we go into the cons, which is why I'm so positive so far. But this was also another W, and just overall, you know, fairly well done, a part of the update. I'm not going to go on about it too long because there's not really much to say. Just play it for yourself. You'll see what I'm talking about. Talk about the Accursed Towers. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. 20% PvP damage was definitely not needed in this game. I mean, people are already dying like this, and I don't think anybody needed an additional 20% increased PvP damage in order for them to die quick enough. So in my opinion, it's a little crazy. That being said, it's an X2 right going on right now on this tower. Single tower bonus is increased to 200%. So I'm not sure if we get a second tower, this will drop down and we only have 10%, or how exactly that works. Okay, but right now it is at a 20% damage buff, and 20% is definitely noticeable in PvP, at least by my opinion. Now, with that being said, one thing I absolutely love about this is the PvE mode, which I've shown plenty of footage already. There's a couple reasons for this. First and foremost, the PvE mode with the contribution chest is available to anybody after you own a tower. And the chest itself actually gives you pretty good rewards you can see for yourself. Any of the legendaries you get out of these will have cursed gear in them, and any legendaries that you receive while you're actually at the tower itself PvE farming, which you can do even after the challenge mode is done. And once you own a tower, you can literally farm there anytime you would like. And all of that will drop cursed gear, making cursed gear easier to acquire than we originally anticipated. On top of that, it is arguably the best position now to farm unless you own one of the 20% monster essence increase type of towers. Then maybe you want to farm outside of it, ironically enough. However, these towers here that you can farm in, they spawn elites at what seems like a significantly higher pace than almost anywhere on the map. Now, when elites can spawn, they have a chance to be a orange elite, basically an ancient legendary elite, and those elites will drop legendaries always on the first one, meaning if you go into the PvE tower first thing in the morning and you get your guaranteed legendary from the first orange from there, then you will always get a cursed item every day if you so choose. And on top of that, it also spawns those oranges significantly quicker across the map, it seems like, than almost anywhere, because the pace of elites is so significant. So if you get into a good group of 4 and you end up just farming there and you don't even worry about the shards, but you're just farming there literally just to farm, you'll actually know this for yourself that it's pretty good. You also have an instantaneous teleport back. If you hit the leave dungeon button, it'll instantly put you next to the blacksmith and you can just salvage everything. And then when you turn in, you get some like bonus salvageables as well. So it's actually not bad for dust, etc. either. Now, you don't get the monster essence, so you lose technically some experience, I believe, because you're not getting the essence turn-ins. But if you are battle pass capped and you no longer need your battle pass points from the essence turn-in for that week, this is probably the new best spot to farm, meaning for min-maxers, okay? People that are just, farming too many hours every week, they're capped and still have hours in the day, then you're probably going to see a lot of those types of players farming in a cursed tower, and because of that, they'll probably have a significant amount of cursed gear. So I do see cursed gear more than likely being the gear that a lot of in-game players will end up having, maybe not necessarily to use in PvP. I still think invocations are going to be used in PvP, but I think a 4-piece curse, 2-piece invocation or something could be ended up being used. So this is just some speculation, but it's also kind of what I've already seen happening. And in my opinion, pretty much everyone is loving the PvE side of this. I have seen a lot of people not understand the way it actually works. The actual PvE portion during the conflict mode in the beginning, when you're having to compete for this, your entire clan can participate in that. So everyone can actually go in and participate in it. And it's only the top 10 scorers get placed on the rankings. But being placed on the rankings actually doesn't give you rewards in terms of how your placements go. The only rewards you get are after you guys own the tower and you actually turn in for the contribution chests, etc. So you don't have to worry about even placing. You just have to get in there and farm and you can get some rewards. And it seems like 300 shards is basically the cap for when you're farming for the contribution chest later. If you don't understand all of that, all you really need to know for this is that the PvE portion of this is accessible to everybody that owns a tower. And when the conflict mode is open, it's accessible to literally everybody that's in a clan. Okay. So your clan just needs to decide if they want to use this PvE portion of it, that they are going to go and pick a tower that someone else isn't competing for. Maybe it has worse powers, okay, and someone doesn't want to own maybe the 50 combat rating, and so be it. But if it's that or lose to somebody else and have no tower, maybe it would be better to own this, and then you can get gold, experience, contribution points, etc., in order to get these bonuses. So it'd be better to have a tower than no tower, in my own personal opinion. Now, we don't know the PvP portion yet. We've only seen the pre-footage that Blizzard shared, and because of that, I will have to wait for my opinion on the PvP. I will agree 100% with the people that complain that the PvP is only for 10 players. I do not believe a new PvP game mode coming in that is only accessible to 10 of the members of the clan is very fair for everybody, and I don't think everything has to be very fair for everybody. However, I do believe that a game mode is something that everyone is excited about, and everyone everyone would like to try out. And it is unfortunate that I do believe there's a significant portion of the population that will literally probably never actually experience the PvP mode for the tower system, at least not as it currently stands. So that is a little bit unfortunate. Maybe the smaller clans, with like 30 people in them when we get to the later seasons and there's more more towers for everybody. But I'm not convinced that we have enough players even on all the servers, that there's all these clans that are going to be battling even amongst, 5 people versus 5 or whatever, just have a few people in the clan. I think the majority of it's either serious clans, they're trying to get a tower, and those people will only pick their best players to go into the 10 versus 10 PvP, etc. And so the PvP is, for me, no matter even if it's a 10 out of 10 experience for the 10v10, I still would prefer a PvP mode that every player at any time can queue into, sort of like Battlegrounds, but obviously a better done version of Battlegrounds, or something like Fractured Plains that's available to everybody. I'm not sold on having another event like Rite of Exile where only some players actually get to participate in it. I think is unfortunate and not what we're wanting out of PvP. Other than that, I actually quite like this Towers event. My negative stuff would only be around the fact that I think a 20% PvP badge is a little strong and probably unnecessary. However, this may be reduced when we end up owning 2 clans, for instance. I think you'd no longer get the 200% bonus is how that works, I believe. And because of that, maybe a 10% badge isn't such a big deal. I still just don't think PvP damage increase was needed at all. And then the fact that 10v10 is limited to only some players would be my other feedback. With that being said, the bonus go, the bonus experience, and this contribution chest that, by the way, also drops set items, or a nice addition in terms of reward, and I'm a fan of that. Kitty, why are you losing your mind every video? I think I bought us some time. So the PvP. The PvP change in terms of 65 kills instead of 55 added one thing, which is what felt like the ability to lose on time. I do actually either win or lose on time basis now on the rare occasion. I've noticed several matches so far. I've been playing more PvP now. I've noticed several matches that actually went over 55 kills and we either won or lost based upon either time or having the additional life. So it does seem to actually have changed the outcome of some of the matches I have played. So whether or not it makes it completely balanced, no, of course not. It's still an unbalanced map just by philosophy. However, the kills do seem to have helped a little bit, at least in the positive direction. One thing to mention is they actually added some more free resources. If you look here, there's rare crests that you get from doing all these explorations now. So if you're free to play and you're trying to grind resonance, this is just a nice little addition and will help you get those AST runes to craft things like 2-star gems. So this is actually just factually a buff. Same thing with the bestiary, but if you look here, on the occasion, you do get a legendary crest as well. So that has been another factual buff. I would still like to see these awakenings be able to be purchased with platinum, so that way people that do eventually get to a rank 10, which I think it takes 40 duplicates or something to even get there, so I doubt that free to play really are getting here anytime soon. But if somebody ever does, okay, from smart plat usage, etc., then I would like to see the ability for them to reward themselves by purchasing this awakening with platinum, much like you can with reforged stones. I do believe the Dawning Echo for 10,000 platinum would be a very large, well-received addition into the game. Let's talk about Cursed Gear. I think Cursed Gear is probably the one that's going to split in terms of how people feel about this the most. Some of the sets seem quite decent. Some of them seemed fairly undertuned. I think one thing that's not really explained well is when you actually look at the cooldowns of these, like let's just say 1,000 wins, okay, every 90 seconds. It doesn't tell you that it reduces the cooldown. If you go to the 4-piece, this becomes 50 seconds, for instance, okay? It doesn't actually explain that to you until you get the cursed pieces for yourself. So because of that, some of them can look worse than they are. The cooldown actually goes down on these with the more pieces you have, making you want to effectively create 6-piece set is what I think they want you to do of whatever it is you're trying to min-max. Now, the cursed gear is kind of fun. I like that the cursed gear is more obvious, that some of the cursed gear that you're actually wearing it's very, very obvious when it happens. Like this is a 90-second cooldown here, 24% of your damage every second. So if I go out here and I use like this ability, right? or not that one, this one here for control skill. There's that right there. You can actually see the damage it does. You can see the AoE effect. It is fairly noticeable, and that's only at the 2-piece, so it would only get better from there. So having some of these where that fit, like that's the continual damage one, and there's other continual damage ones as well that will fit based upon what you're doing. Like this is a continuous damage dash one, so you could have a 2-piece of this, a 2-piece of the other one. Now you have double continual damage ones. There's even another ability around here somewhere that does even more continual damage. There's the one that jumps between people when you attack them, etc. I'd have to find where the other one is, but there's 3 continual damage ones. You could have 3 continual damage effects, which by the way also work with the poison rage set. So there is like some nuance to the builds, and I feel like it's getting more complicated. The problem is it's going to be very hard to convince PvPers to want to remove this 3-second AoE stun in PvP. Going to be a hard sell. And because curse gear is overriding invocations, you might see situations of like 4-piece curse, 2 pieces of invocation or something like that. So just kind of keep that in mind. Overall, the curse gear is fairly fun. We'll have to see how the numbers balance out once people actually start getting the faux sets working. I'm going to start re-rolling for the faux sets, and one of the videos I'm going to do is me testing all of these. I'm going to have to do that information in a separate video, as I think it deserves its whole nuanced type of video. But so far, visually indicated very well. So you can actually see when the moves are happening in the game, which for me is fairly important, as I think the invocations were harder to tell when they were actually activating. That seems to be an improvement for me. And the curse gear doesn't feel too hard to get. It was frustrating a little bit at the beginning because I thought it was only going to be locked out to the PvP, but it is not. So that is enjoyable as well. Make it pretty simple for you. The majority of the patch I like. There are a few things I don't like. I think that we didn't need increased PvP damage. I think that the PvP damage was already definitely high enough. However, I do like the fact that the PvE is accessible by everybody, and everyone can get a chance to actually farm that stuff during the challenge portion. And if you're a clan, especially a smaller clan, not full of sweaty tryhards or a lot of people that spend a lot of money, then maybe you just get yourself a tower that no one's competing with, so that way you can get yourself the hands on the contribution chest rewards, etc. They buffed the set item drop rate, which is nice. I did experience a slightly higher than what felt like normal drop rate of greens. That's terrible data. I've only ran like 20 or 30 dungeons or something since the update, so I can't say for a fact how much the increase is going. Plus, it's impossible for me to tell when I both don't know what the drop rate used to be and what it is now. It's blind leading the blind on that one, so impossible to say. So there's some pros and cons that come with this. I do feel very sad that the PvP is 10 versus 10 and only 10 players are getting chosen. It's another Rite of Exile type of situation where barely anybody from the clan is actually going to participate in what is admittedly the first, what looks like somewhat balanced PvP mode. And I think that's a huge letdown. But I think the rest of the patch was actually pretty good. I thought the poison set felt good. I thought the elite quest was phenomenal. I thought whoever made the Dread Reaver dungeon, I'm a fan of you. Like, you did a great job. So there was positive and negatives on both sides, and I can see why people feel negative about the patch, but I can also see why people enjoyed the patch. And there's also the things like the Phantom Market was, ridiculous in pricing. The skin cost me $150, $170, whatever it is, and I think everyone who's, are mad about the skin, that's fine. That you have right to be as well, because, cosmetics are getting to a price point where it's like, look, you can literally buy Diablo 4 with the collector's edition box that doesn't even have the game in it. You can buy both of those for the cost of this one skin. So that was painful to see, and honestly, I don't know if I would do it twice I don't know if I would buy it again, to be honest. And I'm not sure if I'm going to buy any more of these other ones if they continue to jack this price up or keep it at the price it is. This is the most expensive cosmetic that I've ever seen in any game at this point. And so that is a little just honestly ridiculous. With all that being said, those are my positive and negative feedbacks. If we put the issues of the atrocious skin pricing, the PvP damage definitely not being needed, we throw those, and the PvP being locked out to the people, we throw those and we subtract basically a point for each of these. I think the rating of a 7 out of 10 for the patch, with the 1 point minus for each of the others, would probably be fair. And I think the reality is, once again, both with the skin, if we look in the game, because the skin is visually very appealing, both with the skin in the game, as well as the new Dread Reaver dungeon and the elite side quest, whoever is in the art department is once again backpacking the team. Shout out and props to you, and whoever's decision it was to make the new PvP mode 10 versus 10 and only 10 people at a time. Oof, that was a rough one, boy.